Well, what if your house is vacant? If you've already moved out, or if it was maybe an investment property and now it's vacant and you're entering the short sale process or some sort of stage of foreclosure, whether you're getting close to being delinquent or it's been delinquent even for 2 years already, but they haven't foreclosed yet. Well, that's one that I've just started handling a little bit of a different way. As the process of short sales and foreclosures has gotten longer and longer, I've seen that it doesn't make sense to have unproductive vacant properties. First of all, the bank absolutely hates it. If you read your mortgage, and it says in there, maybe page 16 or something like that, it will say that if you move out of your house and you're delinquent, that they have every right to go in there and protect their collateral. Now, they can't go in there and take over and sell the house. They can't do that because you are still the owner all the way through the foreclosure process until the actual gavel hits and the house is closed by the bank or whoever buys it, and that could be years down the road. So the bank does not want that house to sit there and rot. As you know, Central New York, we have some pumps that go off. The powers can be off, fills with water, mold, you name it, and the house really goes down in value. So the bank really doesn't like that. If they can see that you've moved out, well, they have every right to go in there, change the lock so no one else can get in there. You can if you ask them for the keys, if you come back and decide to live in the house. But they don't want other people, they don't want vandalism or anything like that. They also want to make sure that the pipes are drained out so they don't freeze. So they're protecting their collateral because the collateral for that loan is your property. Again, just because they have put signs on there that says winterized and they've changed the locks does not mean that you can't go in there. You have every right to go in there if you still have some things in there or if you want to rent it out. And we'll get to that here in a second. The other sort of people that don't like to see vacant property is the community. Obviously, there's vandalism again. The grass gets really tall. The town has to go in and mow it, and that gets pretty expensive. That eventually could come back and hit you later or whoever's buying the property. So the community does not get served with vacant properties. They get boarded up. The other houses around that start going down in value because of your house. So they don't want to see that. And then what about renters? I mean, they're right now, because of all the foreclosures and the economy getting a little rough, there are more people that need rental property now than there ever were since I've been here in Central New York. So we are able to rent properties very, very quickly because people need it. I mean, really good people are not able to get loans because credit is still fairly tight. So I'd like to see properties that generally were unproductive, vacant, going bad, now being put in the hands of the people who really need them, and that's going to be renters. And believe it or not, even though you're not making a mortgage payment, I know this sounds strange, but you can collect rent on that property, even though you're not making that payment. And that may feel a little bit strange to you, but believe it or not, the banks can't come down and go, hey, we love that idea. But the reality is they cannot foreclose on that property for an average, we talked about this before, an average of almost 3 years. So they would rather have you keep that place warm, keep it maintained, do whatever it takes to not have a big mold and cesspool when they try to take that property over. And if it means putting renters in there and you collecting rent, there's not much they can do about it. And even if they could, they'd prefer to have the house rented out. Now, just to give you an idea of what would happen if, let's say, you started collecting rent, you're, let's say, 6 months behind, and now you want to give them some partial payments, they're not going to accept it. They'll send it right back to you. They'll say, nope, you're beyond 90 days, so we're going to send your money back. So I know it feels weird to collect money on a property that you're not paying for, but it's the reality. There's an inefficiency in the market there. The foreclosure process just takes a very, very long time. Obviously, in a perfect world, if someone stopped paying and they wanted to give the house back, they could just instantly make it happen and the banks could take it back and we get this thing productive again. But in Central New York or in New York State, it just takes forever. So why would we have good houses going bad? Let's put it in the hands of people who really want to do that. Now, I own a property management company and I understand how long it takes to get short sales through. A lot of times, you'll be hearing from collections, hey, you need to be paying or you need to be moving out. Well, they're not really thinking that through. And in reality, they're really just trying to scare you into paying them. Once they realize that you can't pay them, they're probably going to stop that. Once they see that it's vacant, you would think that you've done them a favor, that you've left the property. But you really aren't doing them a favor because that house is going to really go downhill in value. So the best thing to do is just to go ahead and rent the house out. Of course, the best thing would be for you to move back into it until the foreclosure auction happens or you sell it with a short sale. If that's not happening, there might be a reason I maybe moved out of town already. If that doesn't happen, let's go and get this thing rented. You can use my property management company and you can be collecting a check. And especially if the house needs repairs and it's not going to sell because of those repairs. We had a recent case where the whole basement was full of water, had 8 inches of water on it, and there was a lot of debris that had to be taken out of the property. So by putting renters in there, we were able to infuse the whole situation with some cash here, made it productive for the renters. It was a great house. It just needed to have some repairs done to it. Through over a couple months, we were able to use that rent to pay for removing debris and getting the house back up to rentable and really sellable condition. And that's the key there, is that we were able to now sell this property as opposed to just letting it get wasted away. If you would, give us a call, info@helpwiththebank.com.